Awesome, good. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whether you're watching this video from the East Coast or the West Coast, I got a gang of people on here right now. Right now we're about 26 people and growing. We'll probably end up at somewhere around 40 or so this early morning. I got people from Hawaii right now logged in, which is a 5-hour time zone difference for them. They're 5 out. It's 5 a.m. to them, getting some training in this morning. But today I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to train on how I give an insurance presentation. Okay, I'm going to train on how I give an insurance presentation, and I'm going to talk about some tips so that you can begin what's called nesting. Nesting is a technique that I've used for years when it came to client lead generation. Okay, for those of you that don't know a little bit about my background, I've got 15 years experience in the industry, but I came from a company called Northwestern Mutual. Now, Northwestern Mutual, if you know anything about them, they're a career agency, which means that there's zero recruiting involved. There's 50% contracts. There's limitations on how many companies you can sell. You've got to give them first right of refusal and sell their product line. And because there's no recruiting, that means that there's no overrides, right? And in the same token, they also don't teach anything about lead generation, which I wish they would have. I mean, oh my God, lead generation is it's amazing right now. But I had to learn how to generate my clientele through just referrals, right? And so they taught me this concept called nesting, right? And you might think, well, what the heck is nesting? Nesting, right? If you think of a family tree, right, and you plant a nest on that family tree, what are you saying? I'm gonna hang out in this family tree for a little while. I'm gonna hang out here, and I'm gonna go out to different branches, and I'm gonna make an attempt to acquire some clientele. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, I get that. That's just asking for referrals. But really, there's a technique to this. There's a technique to this. And here's really what it is, okay? We as licensed insurance agents are also known as field underwriters, right? And we also are known as fiduciary agents, meaning it's our job to make sure that the client is being put in the best possible product. It's our fiduciary responsibility to make sure we're doing what's best for the client, right? So if you have the answer to this, feel free to unmute yourself. It's not a hard question, but I'm going to ask you this, right? If you have an insurance policy on yourself and something happens and you pass away, who's the one person that you want to make sure knows that that insurance exists?
Your beneficiary.
You want your beneficiary to know what's going on. Okay, you have no idea how many stinking times I've heard of scenarios where someone passed away, or someone had a living benefit claim and they're unable to communicate because of whatever medical condition they're going through. And the family members have no idea that there was insurance in place to help during that time of need. Beneficiaries don't know, relatives don't know, nobody knows. They have no idea. Wouldn't you agree that it's our fiduciary responsibility to make sure that beneficiaries and contingent beneficiaries know what's in place, right? It's kind of logic, right? So let me explain what nesting is, and then I'm going to go into an insurance presentation. Here's what nesting is. It's a lot more than building relationships. It's a lot more than just asking for referrals. Building relationships is huge because in a sale, in an initial sale, you're selling three things. You're selling yourself, you're selling the company, and you're selling the product. Your first sale is the hardest sale possible with that particular client because you got to sell all three. Now, you're not going to sell the product and you're not going to sell the company unless you sell yourself first. They're buying into you. And whether they're giving you $30 a month, $40 a month, or they're giving you $3,000 or $4,000 a month, at the end of the day, you're the person that's responsible for that person's voice if something happens to them and they pass away. You're responsible. And you got to make sure that you're putting plans in place that protect that person when they can't protect themselves. You're responsible. You're responsible. So you got to build a strong relationship. That's how they're looking at you. They're saying, are you the person that I can say represents me in the event of? Are you the person that I can say is taking care of me now when I'm not able to take care of myself? That's the reality. That's what we do. That's why I love what it is that we do, because we're truly, in my opinion, helping people when they're in a position where they can't help themselves because they're no longer here, or they're bedbound, or whatever situation's happening to them that's catastrophic, critical, or chronic, right? Now, so let's talk about nesting. You build a relationship throughout the journey. While you're fact finding, while you're doing what's called your F&A, your needs analysis, you're fact finding, right? And here's what you're trying to find out. Who do they know? Who are they best friends with? You know what I mean? I want to know, do they have an account that they work with? Who's that person? Do you have an attorney that puts together your legal documentation? Who's that person? Right? Tell me what you do for a living. Oh, I work over here. Okay. Do you work with people? Do you work on your own? You work with people. Tell me the people that you work with. Give me their, tell me about them. Throughout the process of taking an F&A, a needs analysis, you're also trying to become an anthropologist and learn about who they know, right? Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, why would I even ask that question? Why would they give me that question? One thing that I tell people is this when I'm fact finding. I say to them, I go, listen, I need to know as much about you as I can because I've got to give you a sound recommendation that's suitable, and the insurance companies are going to want to make sure that I give you a suitable recommendation. So in a way, I'm kind of giving you a financial colonoscopy. I understand it's a little uncomfortable, but it's important for me to know. It's important for me to know, right? Now, if you notice, I saw some of you guys kind of smile a little bit, you grinned a little bit, you laughed a little bit. It's okay. I'm building rapport. I'm lightening the mood because we're about to have a very in-depth, emotional conversation about your insurance needs, but I need to first make you a friend, right? So I need to know that kind of stuff, right? You're married, kids, I understand. So talk to me, mom. Talk to me, mom. What's your daily habits, right? Tell me about the things that you do because that's gonna help me figure out your insurance needs. That's gonna help me figure out what type of insurance you qualify for. Do you participate in any sports? Do you participate in extracurricular activities? You do, awesome. Where do you do that? Oh, I do it at the YMCA. What do you do? I play basketball. Okay, who do you play that with? Right? Oh, I play with this person, this person, this person. All I'm doing throughout the process is capturing names and relationships. I'm not asking for numbers. I'm not even asking them to introduce me to them. All I'm doing throughout the process is just capturing names and numbers, capturing names and numbers. Let me ask you a question. How many times have you had a meeting, you ask for a referral, and then they say this to you? I don't know anybody. Right? Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm overcoming that from the beginning. If I'm learning about you and I'm learning about the people you know along the journey, it's very hard for you at the very end when I ask for referrals to tell me I don't know anybody. Because now I can reference back to the F&A and I go, well, wait a minute. You told me that you do this person with this person. This is your accountant. This is your attorney. This is the doctor's office that you attend. This is this is the that, right? You tell me that you're a part of an adult softball league, right? Like in learning about them, you also learn who they know. That's the reality. Something that you might also want to get in the habit of doing is this. If you're that person that really wants to understand the art of nesting, you got a meeting with a client. How many of you know for sure there's a 90% probability you're going to find out who that person is just by checking social media with their name and number? Right? A good amount of you. I mean, a good amount of you. If I look your full name up, I could find you on social media. Would you agree? Okay. Look how amazing Facebook is. Facebook tells you who your husband is, who your wife is. Facebook tells you who your sister is, your brother is, your mom is, your aunt is, your uncle is, your best friends are. Facebook tells you who you're closest with. You know how you want to find out how you know who that person's closest with? Take a look at their profile picture and see who comments and likes it. People don't comment and like on a profile picture on someone they don't know. They don't. They don't. On the odd occasions, right? You got a beautiful girl, for example. You might get some random crazy guys that might post, might comment on their profile picture and slide into their DM. Okay, I understand that. That's the anomaly, right? Hope you guys aren't that. But if you look in people's profile pictures, you know who likes it and comments. You know that they're close to them. If you look in their about picture, in their about face of their Facebook, you can see who their friends are. And not friends, I'm sorry. You can see who their family relatives are because they typically assign them. If you go to somebody's LinkedIn page, you can see who's endorsed them. Anybody that's endorsed somebody, they have a relationship with. So when I was new to the game, even before I would get into the F&A, I would go into their social media and I put together a list of people that I knew they knew, and I'd have that in my back pocket. I'd have that in my binder before I went to my meeting with them. Why? Because I understood and I was trained in what the art of nesting is. I want to hang out in that family tree, but I need to know who's in that family tree first. Because one of the biggest objections you get with referrals is, I don't know anybody. I got to overcome it. F&A, ask questions. Ask questions. Guys, don't go for the jugular. How much insurance are you looking for? Shoot yourself in the foot. Build rapport. Build relationships with these people. Get to know who they are, right? Get to know, what do you work at? Oh, I work at Home Depot. Awesome. Are you a manager there? Yes. How many people do you oversee? I oversee 5 people. Which 5 people you oversee? Who's the killer? Who's the killer out of those 5 people? Who's the killer? Who's your A1 person? Who's your about to go person? It's okay. You know what's crazy? People want to tell you their stories. Nobody stops nowadays to listen to people's stories. So if in the F&A you could become that person that just wants to listen to their stories, and you're using this more than you're using this, they're going to tell you so much about them, things you never imagined. I'm not going to lie, they might tell you things you don't even want to know. I've had meetings with business owners where, you know, they're having a meeting with me so casually, right? And I learned in this business, you really can't be judgmental. People have totally different lifestyles. People really have different measures of what's an extreme, what's not. I've had meetings, for example, with business owners, and I'm prepping you for this world, where they'll be like, yeah, what would you do this weekend? Well, this weekend I went out with my lover, and I told my wife that I was out on a business trip, and we decided that we wanted to go over here, so we took a plane over here, and we did this and we did that, and they're so nonchalant about it, and I'm just like, wait, what? What'd you just tell me? Like, no shame in their game, like no shame in their game what's so freaking ever. And it happens both male and female, so I'm not being gender biased. It happens on both. You meet with the mom at oh no, my husband's at work right now, but listen, in the next hour, I got my boyfriend coming over, but he's got to leave before 5 with my husband. And I'm like, what? Well, listen, can you refer me to that person? I'll keep your secret. Just refer me, right? But bottom line, what I'm getting at is, if you want to understand the art of nesting, do some research on the front end, what you know about the person. Social media. If in social media you find out that they have, they're a part of a group, go research that group's website. You'd be amazed if you find a roster of those people, right? Their profession sometimes has a website that shows you who their associates are, partners are. Do that research in the beginning if you're that person that you really want to master the art of nesting, okay? Then when you're in the meeting and you're fact finding, learn about them. Learn about them along the way, right? Because when you go and you ask for referrals on the back end, they can't tell you, I don't know people. You got people to reference to. Now, the list of people, the list of 8, the list that you came up with first, that list, here's my language to them if I'm going to take that list out. I don't take that list out in every meeting, by the way. I take it out if they tell me I don't know anybody. But if I was able to capture a lot of people along the way, hopefully I captured a lot of the people that I found on that list, and they're willing to give me 7, 8, 9 numbers, great. I'm not going to be greedy and take out that list. I'll take out that list in another meeting. But if they didn't give me a lot of people and I want to take out that list, the people that I researched before I met with them, here's my language. I said, listen, if you don't mind, I want to ask you for a favor. Okay. I need you to help me. Right? People love to be needed. Right? I need you to help me. Okay. My marketing team does research on every meeting that I have. Every single meeting that I have. On you, on the next meeting, on the prior meeting, that's what we do. That marketing team is you, right? If you're new to the game, that team is you. If you have an assistant, that becomes your marketing team. But my marketing team does research on everybody that I meet. And I'm actually scheduled the next 3 days to meet with some people that I believe you might know. Not 100% certain, but there's a good chance you know them. And I want you to know up front, social media is a place where a lot of my marketing team goes to in order to figure out, what market it is that I'm working in. Why do they do that? They want to make sure that I'm working in a qualified market. Anyhow, the reason I need this favor is because I just want to know, I'm already scheduled to go see these people. I want to know which of these people should I avoid? Who are the bad eggs? Pause. People love to feel needed. I need your help. People love to give gossip. Who are the bad eggs? You see the psychology of sales there? People love to be needed. I need your help. I'm already scheduled to go meet with these people. Now I just want to know, who are the bad eggs? Who are the ones I should avoid? Now I'm pulling at their gossip string. Oh, who are the bad eggs? Oh my God, please, show me that list. Oh my God, don't call that girl. That girl's a bitch. This guy's an ass. Oh, right? But by them telling you who to avoid, indirectly they're telling you who you can approach. You give them a list of 10 and they tell you to avoid 3. That means they gave you the green light on 7. The ones that they gave you the green light on, take a moment and say, well, listen, out of these 7 here, you didn't mention that they were bad. Well, why? What's so good about them? Now I'm qualifying them. Boom, 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 boom. Right? Listen, I have their business number. Do you mind? Could you help me out? Could I get a direct number to them? That way I can avoid how many times I got to call them. I don't really want to bother them. Boom, 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 boom. Right? Do you mind if I mention to them the compliment that you just said about this woman, that she's a great mother, that she's a this, that she's a that? Yeah, of course, no problem. Now you've got a list of 7 people. Now you got what? Now you've got a hot list. Wouldn't you agree that's a better list than the lead list? Holy crap. Now you're in the nesting mode, right? Now, let's talk. Remember how I started this? I first started this with beneficiaries, right? Remember I asked that question? Who's the first person you want to make sure knows you have a policy? Your beneficiary. Okay. If you get to the process where you take the application, so many people make this mistake. They make it, and it's okay. I'm telling you this because I've made the mistake. I'm willing to tell you right now, I'm human too, and I make those mistakes too, right? This is where you got to take some time, beneficiaries. Get your primary beneficiaries. But then you know what you want to get and do? You want to get contingents. Most people's primary beneficiaries, their significant other. Hopefully you're meeting with them right then and there. Or their kids. But their contingents is extended family. So you want to ask for contingents. And this is how I say it. I say, listen, should something happen to you and your beneficiary, I need to know who are 3 people that you would assign as contingent beneficiaries, that you would say, these people I would want to receive my money if something happened to me and my husband and my wife. People that you don't necessarily assign as your children, because your children won't have access to the money until they're 18. If you assign them as that, and they might need the money now, but people that you feel confident that that you would assign this money to, that would use this money for the benefit of your kids. Who are those 3? Now they're going to give you extended family. My aunt, my cousin, my nephew, that, right? They're going to give you those people. And then what you're going to say is this, is Mr. Client, I want you to know, it's my fiduciary responsibility. This is the language. It's my fiduciary responsibility to make sure that every single person here knows what the protocol is in the event something happens to you. In the event you pass away, or in the event that you become medically ill, injured, and have to leverage some of these benefits, but you're not able to communicate that. It's my fiduciary responsibility. Mr. Client, what are the phone numbers of these individuals? Now pause. Did I ask for permission? I didn't ask for permission. It's my fiduciary responsibility. It's part of my job. Part of my job, just like it's an underwriter's job, right? To poke at your medical record, your driving record, your criminal record. It's my job as a fiduciary underwriter to make sure your beneficiaries know exactly what they're doing. You see, the underwriters are doing their job, but I'm also doing my job in the field. It's my fiduciary responsibility. Well, what does that mean? What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to have a 20, 30-minute conversation with them over the phone or over virtual Zoom. And if they prefer face-to-face, I don't mind that. But I'm going to explain to them exactly what this product does and exactly what this product doesn't do. I don't need to share with them the dollar amounts that you're contributing. I don't need to do that. That's your information, but I do need to let them know the company name. I do need to let them know what this product does as a benefit, because if it has living benefits and you're bedbound and you can't communicate, that'd be something you want them to know that they can file a claim on, isn't it? Right? Like, that's the point of this insurance, right? If you can't be here, then who will be? I'm here. Right? If you can't be here, then who will be? I'm here. Now what they've given you is a list of 5 people. Now you have, what do you have? You have 5 meetings now. Your primaries and your 3 contingents. And those meetings are very simple. Those meetings are, hi, how are you? My name is Tony Martinez. I represent a company called TKO Financial Network. I'm calling, or I represent a company called, Bringing Back America. Whatever your agency is, right? I represent a company, ... Or you can even use the insurance company. I represent a company called North American. I represent a company called Mutual, whatever company you're using. I'm calling because recently you have a family member or a friend by the name of ... Does that name ring a bell? Yes, it does. Okay. They recently applied for an insurance policy and they've assigned you, congratulations. They've assigned you as their beneficiary and most trusted person in the event something happens to them. You see the script? What I'm doing right now? I'm puffing them up. You've been assigned as their beneficiary. Congratulations. And I just want you to know you've also been assigned as their beneficiary that would be in charge of their funds if something were to happen. Now, it's my responsibility as their field underwriter, right? Not their life insurance agent. Remove that out of your language. You're not a life insurance agent. A life insurance agent, unfortunately, and used car salesman to the public mean the same damn thing. You get what I'm saying? You got to remove that. You got to remove that. I've been assigned, I'm the field underwriter, and I've been assigned to this case. I need to schedule a 20, 30-minute meeting with you. It could be over the phone, it could be virtual. I prefer virtual or face-to-face. because I need to explain to you exactly what this product does and what it doesn't do, because in the event something happens and they're not able to communicate, you need to know what the protocols are, what the benefits are, what the 800 numbers are. When can we sit down? Did I ask for permission? I didn't. When can we sit down? When can we sit down? And it gives you that 20-minute window. Now, you're not just going to go in and just present the insurance product that they bought. What you're going to do in the very beginning when you get to this meeting is you're going to give them the same presentation you're going to give your client, but you're just going to introduce it differently. Okay? I'm going to introduce it the way I would introduce it to a fiduciary, but then I'm going to give the presentation. And this presentation, guys, I do it in a field meeting just as much as I do it in a fiduciary meeting. Okay? My introduction to a fiduciary is this. I'd like to share with you what type of insurance it is that this person purchased, but I also need you to know what the differences are, right? Because it's hard to say if something is good or bad or what it does and doesn't do if you don't have something to compare it against. So for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you the types of options that were available, and then I'm going to share with you the exact option that this person picked. Okay, great. Most people won't say no to you on that. You might get one or two people that are like, listen, just show me what they have. I don't have the time. Okay, cool, no problem. Right? But if you do it that way, most people will oblige and say, cool, no problem. Right? Now, when you give this presentation, you can either use the flip charts that we put together that explain every one of them. And if you're using that, right, what you want to have is kind of like a pen as like a pointer where you can point at the flip chart, right? And if it's digital, right, have a way to kind of highlight the areas. But if you're like me and you're the storyteller, right? Let me see here real quick. Hang on. Raise your hands if you're a storyteller. If you're that person, raise your hands. I want to see. I want to see storytellers. Any storytellers in the house? Storytellers? Okay. If you're not a storyteller, do me a favor, become one. Okay? Facts tell, stories will sell. Facts tell and stories sell. Okay? What I learned to do is I do that presentation, but I do it on a legal pad, a yellow legal pad if I'm in front of them. I have a dark Sharpie, right? I have a dark, thick, where are you? Hang on. Dark Sharpie and a yellow legal pad. Yellow is good for the eyes. For someone who has very tough, they struggle with eyesight, you use a white legal pad, it's hard for them to see. You use a yellow legal pad, the black Sharpie, and it's thick lines they can see. I'm the person that likes to draw. If I'm having a virtual meeting, for all of you guys working a virtual business, you see my background? You see how professional that background looks? I have a dry erase board, I have some plaques and recognition, I have some high identity people that are taking pictures with, right? You need to make sure your background looks like that. Please, please, please don't have your background look like a kitchen table. Okay? Don't have it look like a bathroom. Also, my advice is don't make your back a place where people can walk back and forth in. All right? You're overcoming a lot by having virtual meetings, guys. You got to look professional. This has to look like I'm in an office. Am I really in an office right now? No, I'm at home. I'm at home. You got to make sure you're in a silent area, right? There's no point in the bathroom flushing, the kitchen going. Like, you get what I'm saying? You got to control as much of your environment as you possibly stinking well can. I'm a storyteller. I'm the guy that goes right here. So if you're that person, you want to be a storyteller, make sure you get a dry erase board, a nice one. Don't get one that looks like you just it's your freshman year of college, right? Where it's like cork on the side. No, get something nice, guys, please. Please look professional, okay? I'm that guy if I'm a virtual meeting. If I'm face-to-face, I'm using a yellow legal pad. If you struggle with that, then use the flip chart. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you that presentation now. I want you to take notes, and I want you to actually do it with me as I'm doing it. The reason I like to do it that way is because if I show the entire flip chart, their eyes could wander over the entire thing. And what I want them focused in on is what I'm drawing. I want them to focus on what I'm doing because I'm telling a story along the way. Okay, so I'm going to get into it now, okay? Does anybody have any questions before I hop right into it? About anything that I've addressed? Everybody's good? Okay, perfect. Let's get into it. Let's say, ma'am, listen, there's a couple different types of insurances out there, and I want to talk about how they work and what they are, right? I'm going to use vehicles as an example because people understand levels and qualities of vehicles along the way, okay? Sorry, my dog. Kobe, go. You're killing my video. Anyways, all right, so the first thing I ask them is what's their age, okay? Right, so let me ask you something, John, what's your age? How old are you? I'm 35. Okay, gotcha. So listen, there's a couple different types of vehicles. The first one we're going to talk about is the Toyota Camry. Right? Mr. Klein, you said you're 33 years of age. So the way the Toyota Camry works is we're going to give you 30 years of coverage with the Toyota Camry, which means if you're 33, you're going to be protected from 33 to 63. Okay? Now let's just say that this is a $500,000 life insurance policy. We call this term life insurance. Why? Because you're protected for a certain term of your life. How does it work? Well, you're going to make your monthly payments every month. And as long as you make your monthly payments, you're protecting your family for $500,000. How do you get access to this money? The traditional method is what? Death, right? They'll answer that. That's right. This will pay a death benefit in the event of an unfortunate passing. But the companies that we represent also have some exclusivity, some other features that other insurance companies don't have, and that's called living benefits. Living benefits means, Mr. Client, if something happens and they don't pass away, but they develop a chronic or a critical illness or injury, something like cancer, strokes, a heart attack, an organ transplant, ALS, brain trauma, anything in that capacity, we're going to give you access to this money while you're alive. Hang tight, Christian. We're going to give you access to this money while you're alive, right? Now, these benefits only pay as long as it's something that happens between here and here. You know what happens after this time period? The policy expires. There's nothing left. So what's the pro and con to this? The pro, super cost effective. Something like this will range anywhere from 40 to 50 bucks a month. The con, however, is that it expires. It has a shelf life, and you don't get back any of your money. We're going to call this one for the time being the Toyota Camry. Now, the reason I like legal pad, just so you know, is because what I'll typically do in a real meeting is I'll tear it off and I'll leave that on top of the dining room table. That right there for them to see. Okay? Then I erase it. Right? And I'll go, okay, now let's talk about the upgraded version. Right? This one is going to be called my Lexus. It's the upgraded model, right? Lexus is the upgraded model of Toyota. Now, it's upgraded, therefore it costs more money, right? You see how I said, you see it costs and you responded right away? This is me engaging with them. I need it to be interactive, okay? If you're just a presenter, you're not gonna make any money. You're not. But if you can engage them with you, you're building a relationship along the way, and you're also measuring, are they paying attention or they're not? And that's super important in a virtual world because you don't know what their surroundings are. Like right now, all of you guys are muted. I have no idea if radio's playing, if the kids are screaming. I have no idea. So by having them engage, I know that they're paying attention, okay? So let me get back into it. So this is the Lexus. How does the Lexus work for you, Mr. Client? Well, 33 years of age. I'm going to protect you all the way until you hit 100 years of age. That's a lot longer time period, would you agree? I mean, 30 years versus close to 70 years, that's a benefit in itself, right? This right here represents 67 years of coverage. We're going to use the same dollar amount, same $500,000 of insurance. How does this one work? Well, you make your monthly payment, and if something happens to you in this time period, you get access to it as a death benefit or even as a living benefit. I'll tell you what, Mr. Client, living benefit is very, very, very much needed and important and valued right here between 80 and 100. Because that's the time in your life when you're probably going to most have a need for a nurse to care for you. And it's a lot better to have money to pay for a nurse where the children can be the supervisors of the nurse than to have your children become your nurse. Would you agree? Yes. Right? Now, I said to you the Lexus has features. Here's one of the added features that this has. One big major bonus to this is that on the 20th year and on the 25th year. So if you're 33, 20 years out, that makes you 53. 25 years out would make you 58. On those 2 years, if you wanted to completely cancel this entire program, you could cancel it on these 2 given points, and we'll give you a full return of your premium. 100% of your money goes back to you if you want to cancel this. People who typically have a mortgage will look at it on the 20th and 25th year and say, if I get all this money back, can I pay off the remaining balance of my mortgage? Not bad. See, this product is called a GUL, a guaranteed universal life. The most attractive word here. What do you think the most attractive word is of that word?
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. I love it. Everything here is guaranteed. Every single thing here that I'm showing you is guaranteed. A full refund of your money, the time period, the death benefit, the living benefit, as long as you're making your monthly payment. Now, your monthly payment for something like this, it could range anywhere from $150 to $200, depending upon how much insurance it is that you sign up for. So what's the pro to this? Well, the return of premium is pretty cool. And the fact that this lasts until age 100, that's a pro. What's the con? You're not really saving any money. I need you to understand that you're just getting back your money. It's like putting money in a bank account and getting back your money. I call this the Lexus, right? Now, pause for a minute. In a fiduciary meeting, I wouldn't say what I'm about to say now, because remember, they're there to learn what their family member got. But in a client meeting, right here, I pause and I say this. So, Mr. Client, if these are the only 2 cars on the lot, notice how I'm using the analogy of cars. If these are the only 2 cars on the lot, which of these 2 cars, based on your budget and based on the value, are you more interested in? That's called a trial close. Why am I going to show them an IUL if they can't even afford a GUL? If they come back and tell me, hey, listen, I love the way this works, but I can't even do that. Like, nah, man, I'm more interested in that term policy. You know what I mean? It's 30, 40 bucks. Why am I going to go dig deeper into the IUL? What's the point? A couple things happen if you do dig deeper. Some people love to live above their means. Some people would like the shininess of the IUL and sign up for that, knowing good God and well they can't afford it, and then you face chargeback. Number one. Number two, some people get discouraged. They look at the third one and they're like, man, that one is freaking amazing, but I can't afford it. I don't want to do nothing. I mean, think about it. You ever gone to a car dealership? What does the salesman say? What are you looking for? What's your budget? Nobody's going to pull out a Porsche if your budget is a Kia. No one. They might go from Kia to Honda. They might go from Kia to Lexus, right? A slight upgrade, but ain't nobody going to show you a Porsche, a Ferrari. Nobody's going to show you that. Nobody's going to show you that. You get what I'm saying? So when I do, this is my trial close right here, Mr. Client. These are the only 2 cards that I have on the lot right now. Based on the budget and based on the value, which of the 2 are you more interested in that you could afford today? And if they go back to term, listen, I'm done right there. What I'm doing at that point in time, to be honest with you, is I'm seeing if I can sell a coupled package, right? Because they might say, listen, 30, 40 bucks I can afford, but I can't afford 150, 200. I could afford 100. I could afford 125. Oh, okay. Well, what if we could do a combination of both? What if I could give you half of it being term, half of it being GUL? That way you have a large amount of insurance for 30 years, and then after the term expires, you still at least have half of it that'll last you until 100. And that price point is in between both. What if I could do something like that? You get what I'm doing? But I'm not going to show the IUL. There's no point. There's no point, right? I don't do that in a fiduciary meeting because, again, I'm just showing, in a fiduciary meeting, I'm just showing them what products are available, and then we're going to talk about which product it is that their family member purchased because you were assigned as a beneficiary. But in a client meeting, man, all day, every day, especially mortgage protection leads. Especially mortgage protection leads because they're 25 to 45 years of age. They're perfect into this world, right? They might have come in just wanting some basic term insurance, but educate them. You'd be amazed what they end up getting. You ever gone in to go buy one thing, you end up getting something 3 times more, right? It's called sales, okay? All right, I'm gonna keep going. Now, here's what I do for the third card. Mr. Client, let me ask you a question. If money wasn't a factor, money wasn't an issue, what's your favorite car? I mean, what's that car? Honestly, somebody unmute yourself. Tell me what that, I mean, if money wasn't an issue, what's that favorite car? I don't care if it's a 400,000, like what's that favorite car? Anybody?
Bugatti.
A Bugatti? Perfect. Bugatti. Now we're going to talk about the Bugatti. Somebody spell me Bugatti. Okay.
Buggatti. I think.
It's all good. If I spelled it wrong, I blame you. It's okay. All right. This is the Bugatti. This is the Bugatti. This is the dream car. How does this car work? Still the same $500,000 of insurance. But now this insurance is going to do two things. On this side is the insurance coverage. You're going to get a death benefit and a living benefit, not for 30 years, not until you're age 100. You're going to get it until you're 121 years of age. Officially, Mr. Client, you care more about your last name than you do your first name. Why? Because this isn't an if I die, this isn't an if I get sick, this is a when I die, this is a when I get sick. I want to make sure my family's covered, and I want to make sure I'm leaving behind a legacy. That's what this side of the spectrum does. Now, this side of the spectrum, right here, is a savings account. One would even call it an investment, right? Now, how exactly does this work? How does the money grow? The money will make anywhere from 5 to 7.5%. The money can be tapped into before 59.5 years of age. Unlike a 401k where you would pay a penalty, you can tap into this before. You don't have to worry about that rule. The money is safe, which means if the stock market crashes and everybody loses, you don't lose any of your money whatsoever. You want to know what's the most important thing about this? The most important thing about something like this. You ready? Mr. Client, every time you collect a paycheck, what's taken out of your paycheck first? Anybody?
Texas.
Taxes.
Taxes. Uncle Sam dips into the cookie jar. This right here is a cookie jar you can't tap into because this grows tax-free. This turns into a retirement account for yourself that you never have to worry about what Uncle Sam is going to do with taxes in the future. In the future, when you're retired, in the future, when you're no longer working, in the future, where you're relying on your fixed income, your savings, you want to make sure whatever that savings is, Uncle Sam can't dip into that pie and take a slice. You want to keep as much of it as you can. That's what this does here for you. That's exactly what this does for you. So a product like this, though, a Bugatti, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to run you about $250 a month. Part of this $250 covers these premiums. Part of this $250 sits in here and grows. And if you treat this like a long-term vehicle, you'll 2x, 3x, 4x the amount of money you put in here, completely tax-free. Mr. Klein, do you know what it is to earn 5 to 7% tax-free? That's the exact same thing as making 9, 10% in the stock market. If you got to pay taxes afterwards, that's your money. So I don't think I have to explain to you the pro. I think it's self-explanatory. What's the con, though? The con. Ready? This is a long-term vehicle. You can't treat this as a short-term vehicle. You treat this like a short-term vehicle, Mr. Klein, you're going to get back less than what you put in, I guarantee you. And the other con, you have to qualify from a health standpoint for something like this. And it's not that you don't have to qualify for the other two, but that's the only those are the only cons really available into this type of a vehicle. Okay? Now, this is someone that thinks with their last name. This is someone that says, if I die too soon, leave my family $500,000. If I get sick along the way, use my $500,000 to pay for medical expenses, living expenses, my housing expenses, whatever I want. And when I get to retirement, take all of this money that I've earned and create a pension for myself, a lifetime stream of income, tax, what? Free. Tax
Free.
100% tax free. Now, Mr. Client, based on the Camry, based on the Lexus, and now based on this Bugatti, which one do you think your family member John assigned you as a beneficiary to? That's if I'm having a fiduciary meeting, right? If I'm having a face-to-face meeting, Mr. Client, out of the Camry, out of the Lexus, and out of the Bugatti, which of the three do you see yourself driving out with? Right? I'm still using the analogy of the car. Which of the three do you see yourself driving off with? Right? You know what they're going to tell you? Man, I really love that Bugatti, man. I got to see if I can afford that, right? Okay, well, great. Mr. Client, let's first figure out how much insurance it is you need before we figure out which car you're going to drive off in. Because that's important too. At the end of the day, you don't want to have too little insurance. You also don't want to have too much insurance. Let's figure that out. Tear out the page. I got all three of them there, right? The Lexus, the Camry, the Bugatti just sitting there, right? And then what am I going to do? What's my next move that I'm going to do?
Dime.
Time analysis.
Say it again?
Time analysis.
100%. I'm going to do a dime analysis to figure out how much insurance the person needs. I call it DIMO, right? Now, this right here is where I gather the facts. I do the presentation first. This is where I gather the facts. This is where I fill out the FNA. If you do this the right way, your sales are done here. All I did in the very beginning is I just showed the shiny coins. Right? Look at the toys. Which one do you like? This is where the sales done. This is the emotional side. Because here's where I'm going to say, listen, look, watch how I do this for a moment, right? Lulu, can I use you for an example? Okay, Lulu, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Lulu, you're married?
Yes.
You have kids?
Yes.
Okay, what's your husband?
Ernie.
Ernie. Hey, Ernie, my man. I recruited Ernie.
Yeah, I know. You got me though.
Both of you. All right, so a real conversation. Lulu, if this afternoon I got to get into a plane and fly out to Indiana, and I got to knock on your door and talk to Ernie, and I got to deliver him the news today, March 15th, that you're no longer here on this earth. But you and I had a conversation before that about what you wanted to leave behind. What exactly would that story sound like if it happened today? And before you tell me, Lulu, let me explain to you what my clients typically tell me. They tell me that if something happened to them, they want to leave their family in a debt-free world. They want to replace their income for a certain time period. They want to cover the cost of their mortgage to leave them with a house that's completely paid off. And if they're renting, they want to leave behind enough money to buy a house of the caliber that they'd like to leave behind. They want to make sure that their kids, little John, little Stacy, right? I would have learned their names during fact finding, right? Have a chance at going to college and having their education covered. And they want to leave behind a legacy, something to a specific family member or maybe a charity group or a church group. So Lulu, if it was today, you're literally looking in the mirror and realizing that today's the last day you're going to be here on earth, and you've got to make your plans for your family. And I got to be the guy to deliver that message. What does that story sound like? And then literally at that moment, I just let them talk. So Lulu, I'm asking you for real. Is that a difficult thing for you to start telling me with the way that I introduced it?
No,
It's not?
it's not a difficult. Well, maybe because I know what I want, but yeah.
Someone that doesn't, someone that's not familiar would be like, ooh, they'll take a deep breath. It'll be a deep swallow, like, damn. And if you're not having one-legged appointments, meaning you're having husbands and wives together and they got to look at each other, it's a very difficult conversation, but it's an important one. And that's what I'm here for. And when I'm having this conversation, my tonality drops the way you see it dropping here. I'm excited in my tonality when I'm presenting the three products, but I drop my tonality when I'm talking this right here because this matters. This matters right here. What exactly is going to happen? What can I tell them you're leaving behind? Forget the car. What's the amount? What's the amount? Because if something happens, you can't turn back the hands of time. The job's done. You're no longer here. You're in heaven's gates. What are we leaving behind? And then what happens is when they tell me their debts, I take out the FNA and I fill out their debts. When they tell me their income, I take out the F&A and I fill out their income, their employment, how long they've been there. When they tell me their mortgage, I fill out their assets. What other assets do you have? When they tell me education, I fill out the information on their kids, the demographic on the kids, their names, their dates of birth, where they go to school. And when they tell me their legacy, I'm figuring out who in the world I can gain for referrals. Because whoever their legacy is someone that matters. And then that sum is how much insurance they need. Now, if that number's big, if they're telling me they're interested in the Bugatti, just so you know, I want to do a budget. I want to know that they can afford it. That's my process. Now, if it's a fiduciary meeting, I typically won't do this, right? I'll stop there and show the 3 cars, right? And my job is to see if they'll express interest. I'm waiting to see if they'll bite. Wait, I don't have that. I got a Camry. I didn't know this Lexus existed. Boom, I'm in a client meeting, right? I'm hoping that they'll engage. If they don't, I got to be respectful. I'm not going to push. I might ask, Mr. Client, out of these 3 right here, which one do you have? Like, which one do you have? Oh, I have this one. Do you have the upgraded version or do you have the older model? Well, wait, what? What do you mean? You don't know? Listen, we should take a look at it and make sure. I mean, there's upgraded versions out right now that for the same price, you get a lot of benefits. I don't know. When's the last time you had yours reviewed? Right? Oh, I don't have any. You don't have any insurance? Can I ask if you don't mind why? Well, why not? A lot of times it's money and time. Then you can kind of go in and see. You're poking around to see if in a fiduciary meeting they express interest. Those kinds of questions I would ask. What do you have? Right? Oh, you have something. Do you have the upgraded model or do you have the older model? I don't know. Well, when's the last time you had a review? I don't have insurance. Why? You see, I'll ask those questions and I'm trying to see if they'll engage. Their engagement lets me know if they're interested or not. And that lets me know if I should dig deeper or if I shouldn't. And then before I leave, I make sure that I give them the 800 numbers to the company, my direct contact number, right? They need to know that kind of stuff because that's the real reason they're there for the fiduciary meetings, to gain that information. Does that make sense? That's the real reason. And then here's how I close it off after I've done these 3. And after I've done the dime analysis, I go, listen, I just want you to know something. There's certain people that had this presentation done to them when they were in their 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s. And now they're in their 60s and they don't have the opportunity to qualify for something like this. They can't get the Camry, they can't get the Lexus, they can't get the Bugatti because it's either unqualifiable to them or it's unaffordable to them. And they have no choice at that point in time but to purchase what I call the Pinto. What's the Pinto? The Pinto is final expense. It's typically for insurance for someone 50 plus years of age. It'll last until 121. It has a death benefit, but it does not have living benefits. You make your monthly payment. When you pass away, you leave the money behind for the family. And the most amount of coverage I can get you for something like this is $40,000. I can't get you any more, unfortunately, because that product doesn't offer more than $40,000. And it'll cost you anywhere from $70 to $110. You know what a lot of people tell me when they hit this age bracket? They wish someone like me talked to them in their 30s, 40s, and 50s and gave them an opportunity to purchase either the Lexus, the Camry, the Lexus, or that Bugatti. Right? Now, I don't present it this negative if I'm talking to someone at that age bracket, right? Because that's what they qualify for. But now I'm just kind of talking to you and walking you through that process. Does that make sense? Okay. And I apologize for giving you guys a short amount of time for Q&A. I've got 2 more minutes. But I do want to get your Q&A in reference to some of this before I begin my next meeting. And for those of you that are watching the video, just comment and let me know what your questions are. Comment and let me know what your concerns are. If you want to hit me up directly, my number is 239-784-1118. Have yourselves a good one.